It is the 2nd of October in the year 48 BC. Gaius Julius Caesar has arrived in Egypt, landing in the capital, Alexandria. He is here to catch Pompeius Magnus, his foe in the civil war for control of the Roman Republic. However, upon landing, Caesar learns that Pompey has been killed by the servants of Pharaoh Ptolemy XIII, Cleopatra. Displeased with Pompey's killing, Caesar distances himself from the boy Pharaoh, and soon turns against him after forming a relationship and alliance with his co-ruler and sister, who wants to rule Egypt herself, and perhaps, with Caesar's help, an empire. Her name, Cleopatra, the last queen of Ptolemaic Egypt. The woman known to history as Queen Cleopatra VII of Egypt was most likely born early in 69 BC in the city of Alexandria, the capital of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt. Though her date of birth is uncertain, and it could have been in late 70 BC. Her name is derived from the Greek word kleos, meaning glory, and pater, meaning father, so her name effectively meant glory to her father. It was a common name within her family, and many Egyptian queens in the century and a quarter before her birth were also called Cleopatra. Her father was Ptolemy XII, the Basileus, king or pharaoh of Egypt since 80 BC. The identity of Cleopatra's mother is less clear. It is presumed that it was Cleopatra V, a surprisingly mysterious queen of Egypt, who only appears in a few fragmentary records, but who was definitely a wife of Ptolemy XII. The Egyptian kings, though, were known to practice both incest and polygamy, which confuses matters and makes it hard to be sure if Cleopatra V was her mother or not. If she was, she possibly died when her daughter was a toddler. Relationships with both Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, and the role she played in the events which led to the end of the Roman Republic and the birth of the Roman Empire. This meant that Greek and Roman historians were interested in her in ancient times. She featured in some of the most important historical works written by historians and writers of the Roman world, like Suetonius, Plutarch, Pliny the Elder, and Cassius Dio. This in turn meant that medieval and early modern writers had extensive information available about her and incorporated her into their paintings and sculptures. The story of her dissolving a pearl was especially famed and was the subject of many Renaissance and Baroque paintings. That legacy has transferred to the stage and screen in modern times. Numerous plays, films, and television series have appeared featuring the story of Cleopatra. Perhaps the most revered is William Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra. Yet undoubtedly, the most infamous was the 1963 film Cleopatra, starring Elizabeth Taylor as the Queen and Richard Burton as Antony. It ran notoriously over budget and was seen as playing a key role in the decline of the golden age of the Hollywood studio system as a result, although it generally received favourable reviews. Cleopatra was unquestionably amongst the most famous women of the ancient world. She appears in the writings of over 50 writers from ancient times, with many historians discussing her down to the end of the Roman Empire, and also writers of encyclopedias like Pliny the Elder. That she was so regularly commented on and written about is hardly surprising. Her life was full of significant events. When she was born around 69 BC, Rome was tightening its grip on the eastern Mediterranean, and the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt that her family had ruled over for centuries was already losing its independence. Cleopatra's life was framed around attempting to maintain Egypt's independence and her own family's position as rulers of it. To that end, she first took Julius Caesar as her lover, and then Mark Antony, and had children with both men. There was an element of dumb luck to some of this. Cleopatra might have been calculated in her actions, but it was entirely beyond her control that after his defeat at Pharsalus in 48 BC, Pompey the Great would choose to flee to Egypt. If he had gone elsewhere and Caesar had not ended up in Cleopatra's homeland in pursuit of his rival, history could have been very different. Once she caught his eye and began a relationship with him, her ambitions increased. It is very plausible that she imagined that if Caesar lived long enough, he might have tried to promote Caesarion as his successor one day. When he was assassinated, her plans moved on to Antony. There is every possibility that her relationship with him was based on genuine affection. Yet there is no doubting that she also benefited from it politically. The donations of Alexandria of 34 BC and the lavish titles bestowed on her children point towards the extent of her ambitions. However, ultimately her luck ran out. In Octavian, she and Antony faced a figure that to a significant degree was actually shrewder than Caesar himself. After biding his time, he convinced the Senate to wage war on Cleopatra in 32 BC and defeated them in a swift war. It seems likely that Cleopatra, faced with the possibility of being brought as a prisoner to Rome after Antony's death, decided to take her own life. What do you think of Cleopatra? Was it possible that she genuinely formed loving relationships with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony? Or did she simply seduce two men whom she believed she could utilize to secure both her own position as Queen of Egypt and a degree of continuing autonomy for Egypt in the face of the continuously expanding Roman state? Please let us know in the comments section. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching.